even though my roots are from India, I was born in Kenya, but we had a good community in this small town of East Indians. I went to an all East Indian school from grade 1. We called it Standard 1. And some of those kids realized that my mother did not go to the temple, and we did not really go to the temple. In school, we had to go to the temple because it's an East Indian school run exclusive for East Indian kids. And we would go to the temple. The only reason I'd go to the temple and see this man sitting in bed sheets, basically, dhuti, very loosely tied bed sheet around his body, and he would be sitting there and mourning for hours on end. And we had to tolerate that. Didn't understand a thing he was doing and why he was doing this. I just thought he's a sad man that's got a lot of issues in his life. The only thing I waited was for them to give me the little sacrifice they had brought to that God. And cow was always there with a garland around its head, a statue of a cow. And one day, some of the Asian kids found out that yes, I do eat beef. Now that's not my fault. My family, when they could afford to buy beef, they bought beef. And some of the kids in school found that out, and they started telling me and challenging me, why do you eat beef? I said, because it's food. And when I'm hungry, food is food. And they said, do you know that's a very wrong thing to do? You are an East Indian. We never eat cow. So one day I asked one of the kids, I said, why don't you eat cow? Well, he gave me a very strong reason why I should not eat cow. He said, when you were born, who fed you? Well, my mother did. Your mother gave you milk, isn't it? Yup. He said, what does cows give you? Milk. He said, that's why we look at cow as sacred, because it's like our mother giving us milk. So that was a big issue there. And I said, now man, how do I combat with that? And I did not know the Lord then. Just a young child and trying to fit in with my own community and feeling the rejection. So I said, well, what are you wearing on your feet? Well, he had leather shoes, because there was a company by the name of Bata, B-A-T-A in Kenya, that made leather shoes. And if you're rich, you wore leather shoes in Kenya. So I looked at him, I said, you're wearing your mother's skin. How come that's right? And I'm eating mother's meat. I said, which is even better? So that stopped the whole thing, and I got pulled in front of the principal, who was an East Indian, and I got severely chastised and told me, be very careful how you open your mouth. But you see, so in India, there are people starving. Their children are starving, but they will not eat cow, because cow represents mother, and you don't eat your mother. If that logic works, good for you. I'm sorry, I love my steak, and I don't intend to change that at all. In Egypt, the same situation. In fact, you wonder, how did this idea of worshipping cows go from Egypt to India? People all over the world, people are looking for something to worship. People are looking for God. But they will not turn to true God, because true God is going to tell them how to live, and they don't want to be told how to live. So we make up our own little gods, which we can kind of pacify the way we want. We can worship him or her, or whatever the object of worship is, the way we want to worship. We can neglect it when we want to neglect it, but you can do that to the living God. And so here, now, God is sending judgment on the wealth of the Egyptians, the animals. Remember, go to Pharaoh and tell him. You see, in mercy, God told Moses to give another warning so that Pharaoh would have an opportunity to repent. But Pharaoh ignores this next opportunity also. In fact, as I read through these passages many times, I said to myself, man, I see God's patience in such a marvelous way that he did not want to destroy the Egyptians. He did not want to inflict them with all that. All he wanted for them to turn and obey. and acknowledge that he alone is God. And they would not do that. And Pharaoh would not do that. And guess the devastation he brought on his own people. Remember, Pharaoh was considered a god. So this is almost like a battle between Pharaoh's power as God, with the God of the Hebrews. And then God does not only tackle Pharaoh as a god, but all the other gods the Egyptians believed in, God tackles them one by one and shows Pharaoh none of them are gods. None of them are worthy of their worship. But yet you can see the stubbornness of the human heart and the pride of the human heart. If he is considered as God and he gives in to the God of the Hebrews, guess what that's going to do to his own position and place? He's going to be demoted. The Egyptians said, well, you are no God, because we see the God of the Hebrews are real gods. The magicians have already said, this is too much for us. This God of the Hebrew is God, and yet he will not relent. And many of us in our lives have that kind of stubbornness. We will not turn to God, even in the day of great disasters and all that, until it comes to the very end, and then we say, God, where are you? How about if we turn to God early and learn to walk and believe in him early in our life? What a blessing that will come to our lives. And we see it in this passage. So let my people go that they may serve me. See, in this appeal it's clear that God wants Pharaoh to let the children of Israel go for the sake of the Lord himself. Not even so much for the sake of the children of Israel, but for the sake of the Lord himself. He created us. He has the right to draw from us worship and praise and faith. And Pharaoh was trying to deny God that. He had his people, the Egyptians, who believed that he was God. So God says, now, I want my people. And yet he's holding. You see, one of the things in this passage that comes to me as terms of application, people, be very careful how we treat one another. Sometimes, even in the church, we have a tendency to look down on others. And you can say, but others look down on us. It's not to be so in the Church of Jesus Christ. God saw his people, the children of Israel, as special. If God sees his people as special, what right do you or I have to put down God's people? You say, but some people have so many problems and this thing. Yes, people have problems, so do you, so do I. But that does not give you or me the right to put down a brother or sister. See, we must treat each other well, not only for the sake of our fellow brother or sister, but also for the sake of the Lord. We owe it to him even more than we owe it to them. That's why Jesus said, a new commandment I give you, love one another. There is no place in the church, as we see in this passage, there is no place in the church, whether you're a pastor or whoever you are, you have a right to look down on somebody else. In fact, we break God's command every day. Jesus said, a new commandment I give you, love one another. By this the world will know you are my disciples. And I will say this to you very clearly because I'm saying this to myself. I know my selfish heart at times. You will not grow in your faith when you look down on anybody. Any one of God's children, you will not grow in your faith. And I speak this from personal experience. There are people I disagree with. There are people we don't have too much in common with. But guess what? They're God's children. And his command is, love one another as I have loved you. I want his love, then I have got to reach out and love those that really don't seem to fit in my little circle. There is a great danger. And you see here, God is highlighting the importance of his people. And he wants Pharaoh to know his people, his chosen people, were very important to him. He called them, he blessed them, he's going to protect them, he's going to lead them to the place where he wants to take them, because out of the children of Israel will come a Messiah, his only begotten Son. They'll be the Savior for the whole world. You see, and I've learned very quickly in my life, do not try to step in between God's agenda. And we do that very, very cleverly, very clearly by having our own ideas. Let me tell you, don't have ideas about God's church. Let God's word direct our ideas about his church. And let's follow in command. You see in Exodus chapter 9 verses 5 to 7, the death of the diseased livestock. Now it's very interesting. This time, it's not Moses setting the time. It's not Aaron setting the time. God himself takes the initiative to set the time. Let me move quickly in this part. And then he says to us, then the Lord appointed a set time, saying, tomorrow the Lord will do this thing in the land. So the Lord did this thing on the next day, and all the livestock of Egypt died. But of the livestock of the children of Israel, not one died. Then Pharaoh sent, and indeed, not even one of the livestock of Israel was dead. He sent a spy to check it out. But the heart of Pharaoh became hard. He did not let the people go. Now, what's interesting in this passage, and let's make some application to our own heart. If you're a Christian and you're living in sin, you're living in disobedience, can I say to you very kindly, if you persist in living in disobedience to God's revealed truth, you will find it'll continue to harden your heart. And you will suffer what Pharaoh is going to suffer, because as you continue to persist in sin, when you know the truth, your heart will be hardened. And Satan will use that, and in the end, you are going to be really tormented. And I'm not saying, wow, that's great that you're going to be tormented in the end. My cry to you is, if as a Christian, you're living in sin, and God's truth is revealed to you, would you stand up and take account of your own life and step away from the life of sin and do what's right? Because that's required of you. Because Jesus said to every believer, you are the salt of this earth, you are the light of this world. When you let your light become dim because of sinful lifestyle, sinful choices, there are consequences that you follow. And now see the consequences that the Egyptians are facing because of Pharaoh's hardness of heart. You see, this plague was directed against the Egyptian god Hathor. Remember the cow woman who was thought to be the mother goddess was in a form of a cow. In addition, Egyptian religions considered cattle sacred, and the cow was often a symbol of fertility. God shows Pharaoh and all of Egypt that he is mightier than this imagined pagan god.